And we are back with October marking Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The Violence Intervention Program has grown from its grassroots beginnings, formed by survivors and activists advocating for culturally specific services. Now they become a beacon of hope for Latina victims, providing them with the resources and support needed to achieve safety and independence. We have joining us now the Director of Specialized Programs at the Violence Intervention Program, Katia Amaya-Salinas, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to continue along a theme that we've been talking about, for a minute, which is really storytelling and the effect of storytelling. And when we talk about domestic violence awareness, I think the storytelling really raises a huge awareness to the public, and then also to those who are, victims and survivors.
Absolutely. At the Violence Intervention Program, we have, in my purview, it's our specialized program. And we have our child and adolescent program, our restorative justice program, we have our sexual violence program, and we also have our economic justice program. So within that, if I choose one of those programs,
Right.
The stories, I'll start with our child and adolescent program. The stories that come in by children and youth impacted by trauma are huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important to have spaces where children are able to have their feelings validated and their stories processed. And then we're really fortunate enough to have these culturally specific program because of the population that we serve is the Latinx population in New York City. So having spaces that affirm their culture while expressing their trauma, I think is really impactful.
That safe space, right? I think you can't downplay that.
Absolutely not.
When you think about the fact that there's so many people who are really looking for a safe space, can't find a safe space, but then here you are, your doors are opened and you're actually able to, have this safe space. And it does, it empowers Latina survivors too.
Absolutely. Another program I'll speak about today is our restorative justice program. And that that came out of our survivors asking for a different approach, different options to the carceral system. A lot of our clients are immigrants, and so they are scared of systems, and they don't call the police. They don't want to get involved with systems, but they definitely wanted to have these conversations with the person that have harmed them. And we had there is no process for it. And so what we created, along with many other organizations throughout the city, is one of the first spaces where it's a survivor-centered approach, but also including the person that have harmed them. A lot of the domestic violence organizations only work with survivors, and our survivors were telling us, I want to have conversations with the person that have harmed me, because a lot of the times they share a child, and the child still wants to have relationships with the parent who had harmed them. And so creating a space in our organization for those conversations to be processed in a safe space is huge.
How effective have you found that to be?
We're in our piloting phase. And so that means that we are launching in about 2 weeks.
Awesome.
So I would love to come back and let you know how
the
doors are open, and how that process is going. It is it's a little bit intimidating because in the world of domestic violence, we only work with survivors.
Right.
And so really creating a process where we could have both voices is huge.
Yeah. And you have child and adolescent programs as well.
We do. We have a child and adolescent program where we provide culturally affirming services to obviously Latinx families. Um, our goal in that specific program is to strengthen the child and parent bond, because so much of the time we have families who are coming in with all kinds of trauma. A lot of them come in through, even with their immigration journey, right? And some of them need just additional support to have their to strengthen the relationship with your children. And so that's what we do. We help provide that space so they can strengthen those bonds.
Supporting children and teens, that's huge, right? And I think that the work that you do really does that. Um, as you look around, children sometimes are forgotten, overlooked, but you make a good job of, or do a great job of really making them inclusive in the work.
Absolutely. It's, I think adolescence is such a hard time in your life already. So then you're including trauma, and you're including either it being witnessing domestic violence at home. And so being able to have somebody that actually looks like you. When I was looking at some of your guests today, having a male, we just hired one of our first male Latino social workers at VIP, and having a Latino male mirror back to a lot of these adolescents who were Latino males, having they see that there's somebody that's also professional, that that it's also creating safety for them. So that has been huge, and I think it's also great modeling that for adolescents.
For yourself, it's got to be a great feeling that you're able to provide these, to provide these services, and you are the director of specialized programs. But I want to ask this question because, as a person that works behind the scenes, right, you're saying to yourself, I'm glad I can provide these services, but also it's a shame that we have to even provide these services altogether. From your lens with the boots on the ground, are you seeing more and more people come through the doors, especially with the way that, America's going in climate and this, that, and the third, to say, listen, I just need some help?
Absolutely. I mean, so you're adding, they're coming in with, these experience of violence, but then you're also adding additional factors, right? Such as not being able to afford rent,
Right.
not being able to feed their children, not being able to provide, pay their electricity bills. All like the really important things to survive, in addition to the trauma they're experiencing. But luckily, we are able to provide some assistance, some grant assistance to our clients. But it's temporary, right? And so what we really need are policies that help foster sustainability for our communities. Our communities are, come from very high levels of poverty, and so if we're not creating not just programs but policies that address these really systemic issues, then what are we really doing? Because it's a continuous stream, right?
Right. So, as you talk about policy, is there anything in particular that we, the public, should be aware of in terms of policy changes and things that you're standing in support of, and then maybe that the public can get behind?
I mean, there is what you always want to make sure is that for us, I'll go into our economic justice program. What we want to create is sustainability,
Right.
because if you're providing the person with a skill. You're providing them with a way to make a living for their families. Then they're gonna stay out of these abusive relationships because right. And so, what we want are policies that are sustaining people from all different levels. You don't have to go, to professional school.
Right.
You want to make sure that we are creating policies, living wages. Like we've signed on to living wage. A living wage is not $15 an hour. You know how much milk is in New York,
Right.
right? A living wage is anything above 25, right? And so what we want to create are policies that are sustaining our communities, are sustaining families.
And so for people who want more information, what do they do? How do they connect?
We could call our domestic violence helpline. Please, and I'll urge you, if you are experiencing domestic violence, if you know somebody that's experienced domestic violence, give them this number, 1-800-664-5880. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And our website is vipmujeres.org.
Yeah. And it's important to also mention that any call that's made is kept strictly confidential, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure to let people know that too. Katia, it's been great having you.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have
having
you.
us.
Yes, as we said, come on back. Got you. All right, listen. Now, for more information, please visit the website vipmujeres.org.